Well, let's talk now to John Christensen, who's director of the UNEP Copenhagen Climate Centre. Good to see you, John. Thank you for joining us on the programme. This report finds that the goals set under the Paris Agreement just aren't enough to make the difference that's needed. What scenarios are we looking at if emissions keep on as they are?
Well, I mean, as the Secretary General said, we're really looking at something that gets closer to 3 degrees at the end of the century. And I mean, as a grandfather with kids that will have to grow up with the problems we live through, this is really scary. I mean, we've been seeing the last year, especially how reaching the sort of, for the first time, passing at least temporarily 1.5 degrees, what that means in terms of forest fires, floodings, heat waves across the world, how costly it is, both in terms of lives and also in terms of sort of financial impacts. It is a little bit mind-boggling that countries don't see that there's a need to raise ambitions and really move fast, because the only way we can change that situation is basically by reducing emissions really, really quickly.
So do you think enough is being spent on dealing with emissions, both in terms of attention and also the financing?
No, I mean, the clear answer to that is no. I mean, there's not enough going into that. If you look at how much money is still being invested in oil and gas exploration at a time where all the international energy agencies and everybody else says we have enough capacity to meet what we need in the short term, and in the long term, we need really to move towards non-fossil resources over time, wind, solar, hydro, whatever is the solution in a specific country. And I think we need to make it a business case. I mean, it's not something that government money can pay alone, but in most countries, renewables is fully competitive if it's on market conditions. And in some countries, developing countries, there may be need for financial support and guarantees to make it work. But that's the way to go, and there's no alternative.
You mentioned the word ambition just now. Do you think governments and organisations are being ambitious enough? Where do we need to be?
Well, I mean, we have seen what happened with the plans that were submitted to Paris. There's a big discrepancy between what countries said they would do and also the ambitions they set themselves on the temperatures. Then we've been monitoring every year how much is the ambitions growing. And I think we have a gap of, let's say, 20 gigatons around that. We've seen an increase in ambition of about 5. So we need really to put ambitions up by 3 or 4 times in the really short term. It's tricky, it's difficult to do, but we need to do it.
So we're just days away now, really, from the COP28 climate conference. What would you like to see come out of it? Do you think it's possible to make some progress there?
I hope so. I mean, it's, of course, a big challenge to take on. I think countries are being asked to set new climate plans by 2025. And I think if they can agree at COP28 for the roadmap and the ambition level to do that, then I think we have a good chance of coming up with an ambitious plan. You won't see them at COP now. That's unrealistic. I think where you'll see movement at COP now, maybe on some of what we call short-lived gases, on methane and some of the HFCs that are really potent, very short-lived. So if you can reduce those quickly, you get a bit of a breathing space in the short term. So there will be a lot of focus on that. You could hear that from the meeting between the Chinese Premier and President Biden. They want to focus really on methane and some of these short-term pollutants because they can have an impact short-term while you're decarbonizing.